Welcome dear students. Today we are going to learn the next topic from our first chapter. That is, what is the meaning of the word conditional statements? What do you mean by antecedent, consequent and as well as converse? Now first of all, in our day-to-day life, we always use the phrase if and then. If this will happen, then this will do. We are using in our daily life that if this is the true, then this will be also true. Now here in mathematics, when the statements are in the form if then those statements are said to be conditional statements. The part of the statement following if is said to be antecedent, and as well as the part of the statement following then is said to be consequent. Antecedent and consequent, both words are new to you. Please try to understand it very well, that when the statement is of the if then form, that statement is said to be conditional statement. If part is said to be antecedent and then part is said to be consequent. As well as we are going to learn what is the meaning of the word converse. What is the meaning of the term converse? When in a given conditional statement, antecedent and consequent are interchanged, that means positions of those two words are those two statements are interchanged, then that new statement is said to be converse of the given conditional statement. Now, we will learn this with the help of a simple example in mathematics. Suppose we have given the important property related with one important quadrilateral, that is rhombus. We know that in rhombus all four sides are congruent to each other. But when we are going to learn this quadrilateral again, we know the important property related with rhombus. That is, when a quadrilateral is said to be rhombus, what is the definition? When all four sides are congruent to each other, then that quadrilateral is said to be rhombus. Now we know the important property related with this quadrilateral, that when we draw its two diagonals, then the property related with diagonals of rhombus is the diagonals of rhombus are perpendicular bisectors of each other. That means when the diagonals intersect, they make angle of 90 degree, as well as the equal two parts of the diagonals are congruent to each other, and therefore this is the important property related with rhombus. Suppose I want to write, first of all, I want to make conditional statement of this given property. If the given quadrilateral is a rhombus, then its diagonals are perpendicular bisectors of each other. This is the conditional statement of the given property. I am going to repeat it again. If the given quadrilateral is rhombus, then its diagonals are perpendicular bisectors of each other. Suppose I want to write converse of this. That means the first if part is converted into then, and then part is converted into if. Now students, in this example we are going to learn that the converse of the statement is that if in a quadrilateral the diagonals are perpendicular bisectors of each other, then it is a rhombus. Here in this particular statement, the conditional statement as well as the converse both are true, but it will not happen always that if you have converted the conditional statement into converse and the converse is not possible that it is always true. Sometimes it may not be true also. Now here we are going to learn the next part. Here in 9th standard we are going to study the geometry which is formed by Greek mathematician Euclid. And here, what he has done, that he chose some such self-evident geometrical statements and called those statements as postulates. The other meaning, simple meaning of the word postulates, the properties which we can easily prove. We are not going to prove those properties, we have all accepted those properties are true. Such simple self-evident properties are said to be postulates. Then the new term which is said to be a theorem, the properties which can be proved logically with the help of given postulates or the postulates we already know. Such properties are said to be theorem. Then what is the meaning of the word proof? The logical argument or logical explanation of your theorem is said to be the proof of the given theorem. Now we are going to learn two different parts of the theorems. Theorems are having two different parts. First one is direct and second one is indirect. I am going to explain first of all one important direct proof in this chapter. Students, now we are going to learn first important theorem from this first chapter. The statement of the theorem is the opposite angles formed by two intersecting lines are of equal measures. We are using this property, this theorem many times while solving our examples. Now we are going to learn how we are going to write proof of this theorem. First of all, when you are going to prove a theorem, then the figure for the proof is essential. If figure is not there, your proof is not having weightage. Now here, line AB is given and line CD intersects line AB at point O. Now write the given thing. Line AB and CD intersect at point O. Also write the betweenness A dash O dash B. First betweenness, also C dash O dash D. Now in the given theorem they have given that the opposite angles are equal. Now there are two pairs of opposite angles. First one is angle AOC, angle BOD. These two angles are said to be opposite angles. We have taken the first pair, angle AOC, angle BOD. The second pair of opposite angles is angles BOC and angle AOD. These two are second pair of opposite angles. Now here we are going to prove the first pair, then ultimately similarly it is true that the second pair is also similar to each other. Now we are going to write the proof of the theorem. Here I am using one important property which you have already completed in 8th standard. Observe the figure on blackboard. Suppose I have taken such type of two angles. This is one angle, this one is second angle. These two angles are said to be in linear pair. In 8th standard, you have completed the important property related with these angles in linear pair. That when the angles are in linear pair, the sum of measures of these two angles is equal to 180 degree. Now I am using this property of angles in linear pair, and suppose first of all I want to take first angle AOC, second BOC. I have taken these two angles which are in linear pair, and I am going to express in notation that angle AOC plus angle BOC is equal to 180 degree. The reason is angles in linear pair. I have already explained that we have completed this property in 8th standard. The sum of measures of two angles in linear pair is always 180 degree. Now I am going to take the next thing. Angle BOC and angle BOD are also in linear pair. Therefore, their sum is also 180 degree. Take angle BOC, add angle BOD. These two are also in linear pair. Therefore, their sum of measures of these two angles is also in linear pair. This is my statement number 2. Again, the same reason, angles in linear pair. Now, observe the two expressions, statement number 1 and 2. Right hand side of both the expression is 180 degree, which is equal. Therefore, there is equality between left hand sides also. Therefore, from 1 and 2, I will get angle AOC plus angle BOC is equal to angle BOC plus angle BOD. Observe this, and this is from 1 and 2. In this expression, angle BOC is common on both the sides. I have underlined it. Since it is common, since it is equal, it gets eliminated from both the sides. And therefore, my next decision is angle AOC is equal to angle BOD. And that is what I have to prove in the first statement, that angle AOC is equal to angle BOD. These two pairs of the given intersecting lines are equal to each other. Similarly, it can be proved that angle BOC is equal to angle AOD. Only 4 important steps are there, and I have used only one simple property which you have already completed in 8th standard, that is the sum of measures of angles in linear pair is 180 degree. I have to prove this pair. I have taken help of the third angle, which is angle BOC. Now, students, we are going to complete practice set 1.3. I am going to read the questions and I will tell you the answers of the questions also. Then observe the sheet. I will send you photograph of the answers. Now let us open your page number 11 of your textbook. Practice set 1.3. Question number 1. Write the following statements in if-then form. The first statement, I am going to read it. The opposite angles of a parallelogram are congruent. The opposite angles of a parallelogram are congruent. Suppose I want to write this statement in the conditional form, that is, I am going to use the phrase or the form if then. Now, how I am going to write the answer? I will write on blackboard. Please observe the answer. Now, if a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, answer of the first question from question 1. If a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, then opposite angles of that quadrilateral are congruent. Now this is the if part and this is the then part. If a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, then opposite angles of that quadrilateral are congruent. This is the answer for the first question of question number 1. Now the second question is, the diagonals of a rectangle are congruent. Similarly, if a quadrilateral is a rectangle, if a quadrilateral is a rectangle, then its diagonals are congruent. This is the if part and this one is the then part. If a quadrilateral is a rectangle, if a quadrilateral is a rectangle, then its diagonals are congruent. Now the third statement is, it is related with the property, important property related with isosceles triangle. I am going to draw some figure. If given triangle is isosceles triangle, and if I have taken midpoint of opposite side, and if I have joined the vertex with this midpoint, then it is always perpendicular to the base. This is the property given. Now I am going to convert the statement in the if then form. If a triangle is an isosceles triangle, then the segment joining the vertex and the midpoint of the base is perpendicular to the base. Now here we have completed first question from practice set 1.3. Now next question is given, write converses of the following statements. Here the statement is given and you are going to write the converse of the given statement. I am going to discuss it orally. The alternate angles formed by two parallel lines and their transversals are congruent. Now I am going to write the converse. If the alternate angles formed by two lines and their transversal are congruent, I have not mentioned that the lines are parallel, then the lines are parallel. I am going to repeat my answer again. If the alternate angles formed by two lines and their transversals are congruent, eliminate the word parallel from the given statement and join if. If the alternate angles formed by two lines and their transversal are congruent, then the lines are parallel. Now here we are going to learn the answers of the next two questions from question number 2. If a pair of the interior angles made by a transversal of two lines are supplementary, then the lines are parallel. Here, if the angles are supplementary, then the lines are parallel. Now I am going to use if and then. If two parallel lines are intersected by a transversal, then a pair of interior angles made by the transversal are supplementary. This is the answer. I am going to repeat it again. If two parallel lines are intersected by a transversal, then pair of interior angles made by the transversal are supplementary. Now the last statement, the diagonals of a rectangle are congruent. This is the given statement. How you are going to write it? If the diagonals of quadrilateral are congruent, then that quadrilateral is a rectangle. Now here we have completed our first chapter.